If you've ever had a boss who thought they could do anything without consequences, hit that like button. And if you love seeing justice served cold, stick around, because you're about to hear how I took down the most arrogant man I've ever met. I've had some bad bosses in my life, but this man was something else. Let's call him Richard, partly because his real name isn't important, and partly because, well, it fits the other meaning too. Richard was what you'd call a textbook type A personality. If the textbook was written by a narcissist, he walked into a room and owned it, or at least he thought he did. He talked over people, micromanaged every breath you took, and somehow made even good news sound like an order barked in boot camp. He was married to another employee at our company, a quiet, sweet woman named Linda. She worked in accounting, kept to herself, never raised her voice. You'd think that would keep him in check, right? Keep him faithful? Oh no. Richard saw marriage as just another prop in his life's performance. And he had a hobby. Not golf, not fishing. No, Richard was into photography. Not the landscape kind, or portraits of sunsets kind. The taking pictures of himself in the middle of affairs with other women kind. I wish I was making that up. And he didn't keep this hobby private either. He would brag about it, show photos around the production floor like some twisted trophy collection. He'd point out his conquests like he was showing off a new car. The arrogance was off the charts. Back then, I was in a long-distance relationship with a woman I'll call Emily. She worked at another one of our offices, about 90 miles away. It wasn't the easiest arrangement, but we made it work. Every weekend I'd drive down, we'd spend time together, and then we'd go back to our separate work weeks. Richard found out about Emily through some casual conversation, and from that moment, I noticed this gleam in his eye, the same gleam he probably got every time he spotted his next target. He started asking about her. At first, it seemed harmless. Oh, so Emily works over there, huh? How long have you been together? But then the questions got slimier. Is she adventurous? Do you think she'd like to model? That was Richard's code for, I want to sleep with her. A few weeks later, Richard had a business trip to that other office, Emily's office. I didn't think much of it until Emily called me that evening. She was quiet at first, too quiet, and then she told me what happened. Richard had cornered her after a meeting, told her she was too pretty to be wasting her time on me, that she should have some fun with someone who could make things happen for her career. And when she laughed in his face and told him she was engaged, he didn't take the hint. He leaned in closer, lowered his voice and said, "Careful, I decide who stays here and who doesn't." Emily walked away. She told him, flat out, she wasn't interested. And within a week, she was fired. I can't even describe the rage I felt. It wasn't just that he had tried to sleep with her. It was that he punished her for saying no. She lost her income, her routine, her confidence, and the worst part, he was untouchable. Richard had connections in upper management. He was the kind of guy who could spin a story so well that you ended up apologizing to him. If I had confronted him directly, I would have been out of a job before I finished my sentence, so I kept my mouth shut. But inside, I made a promise. I knew about his collection, those photos. I also knew he didn't keep them at home, too risky with Linda around. No, he kept them in his office, locked away like some sick little museum. So I waited. It took months. I never rushed it. If you want real revenge, you don't kick the door down. You wait until they open it themselves. One Saturday, I was working overtime. The building was mostly empty, just a few of us catching up on deadlines. Then the cleaning crew came through. I noticed the janitor had unlocked Richard's office to vacuum. She nodded at me, didn't think twice. I stepped inside with a rolled-up blueprint in my hand, pretending to measure something. "Just close the door when you're done," she said, moving down the hall. And just like that, I was alone in the dragon's lair. I opened drawer after drawer, rifling through papers until I found it, a plain folder in the very back of the bottom drawer. I pulled it out, and my stomach turned. It was thick, at least a 4-inch stack of glossy photographs, all of them showing Richard with different women, 4, maybe 5, all of them in compromising positions, and every single one showed his face crystal clear. The women, all brunettes and redheads, his wife, a blonde. I slid the whole stack into my bag. I didn't act right away. Oh no. I waited until Richard was out of town again, another business trip. Then, I picked 12 of the most damning shots, the clearest ones. I drove to the post office nearest his house. No return address, just an envelope addressed to Linda. Inside, his dirty little secrets, laid bare. Within weeks, the office was buzzing. Linda had filed for divorce, and her lawyer obliterated him. Richard went from strutting through the halls like a king to shuffling in like a man on death row. Word got around that he lost his house, half his savings, and a good chunk of his pride. And Emily, she's my wife now. We're happy, and every time we talk about it, we're not mad anymore. Because karma, sometimes, she just needs a little push. Looking back, I learned something important. People like Richard think they're untouchable until the truth catches up to them. And when it does, it's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's quiet and permanent. If this story gave you that warm feeling of justice, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? And of course, subscribe for more true stories that prove karma is real.